Kulliyye is an Ottoman term that refers to the building complexes that provide social services to the region it was located. It consists of complex of buildings centered round a mosque. These buildings serve various purposes and provide different services. Some are used as kitchens, cafeteria, schools, baths, etc. Goodwin, 2008. Whereas the separate buildings that surround the mosque serve various purposes, they are considered as an architectural whole. Thus, a kulliyye would either consist of hospitals, law schools, preparatory college, kitchen, and medical school etc. in one compound, and all of them centered round a mosque would be viewed as an architectural whole. Goodwin, 2008. The kulliyye concept is based on the earliest form of the mosque. The mosque was not only used as a house of praying but also as a place for eating, teaching, and as a hostel for the poor. The structure of the kulliyye derived from such concept. Instead of using one mosque for various services, other buildings were built to center around the mosque that provided the specific services. The services expanded and were incorporated under one foundation document, and each housed its own building within an enclosure. Goodwin, 2008. This included the foundation of hospitals, law schools, preparatory college, and a medical school among other services. The majority of kulliyye were constructed and designed by architect Sinan. He was the master architect of the Ottoman Empire for 50 years in the 16th century. As master architect, he was responsible for all planning and constructional works in the empire. Sinan built most of the kulliyye in Istanbul. The kulliyye built by Sinan set the pattern for other kulliyye architects. Most kulliyye followed these patterns. They were located at the important points of the city, and the structure emphasized the religious center of the mosque. In addition, they were either built on hills and sloped lands, coasts or peripheries of the city. The reason for this is that kulliyye helped create the silhouette and landscape of the city. The kulliyye were easily recognizable in that form, and one is able to marvel at them from afar. According to Ottoman Empire law, the lands and the state belonged to the sultans. As a result of this, kulliyye are usually built for either the sultan, one of the family members of the Ottoman sultans, or for the high state administrative officials such as the vizier or grand vizier. These aristocrats became the employers of architect Sinan and many others architects. As employers, they had a choice in choosing the location of the kulliyye and had an input in its design, thus, they had an influence on the construction of the kulliyye. Administration. The administration of the kulliyye rested upon the administrative officers, also under the chief eunuch in the department of harem at Topkapi Palace, Ottoman Sultan's primary and official palace of residence. 2 Among the administrative officers, the kulliyye also had religious officers and teachers, porters, chanters, grave diggers, servants responsible for maintenance, including the polishing of courtyards and window grills, cooks, scullions, plumbers, lamplighters, a guard against the theft of oil lamps, carpenters, masons, and tillers responsible for the lead sheets covering over 500 domes. The staff magnitude illustrate the sophistication of the kulliyye. Though it began with a simple concept, it had developed and become complex that a magnitude of staffs and officers were needed to manage it. The kitchen was responsible for feeding the staff and officers, as well as the students, travelers, and the poor. This required an enormous supply of water, which serve as another reason for why the kulliyye were built near the coasts and peripheral parts of the city. Kulliyye rose funding for the cost of the building and for the maintenance of such a vast foundation. This funding or endowments were raised by public subscription, including the gift of various properties, ranging from entire estates to a mill or cottage. The donors ranged from the ruler, the sultan, to office holders of greater and lesser ranks, and then to the common people. The ruler tended to be the most significant donor as he was capable of assigning the revenues of a part of the realm. Examples of kulliyye. The greatest of the kulliyye ever built was Süleymaniyye Kulliyye in Istanbul. It was built by Mehmed II and Süleyman the Magnificent. The kulliyye had 7 madrasas, schools, 4 of each of the Sunni law schools, a preparatory college and 1 for studying the hadith, and a medical school. These madrasas incorporated their own courts, latrines and 2 houses for the teachers. In addition, there was a school for boys, a chantry, a hostel with stables, a bath, hospitals, public kitchen, shops, and fountains. Kulliyye Kulliyye stood out with its educational services along with its religious services. The Kulliyye environment resembled a university campus and it was the cultural and scientific center for Istanbul. There were many other Kulliyye, but none of them came to the magnitude of Kulliyye Kulliyye. Examples of other Kulliyye are Sakalur Mehmet Pasha Kulliyye, Zulmamet Pasha Kulliyye and Mirima Sultan Kulliyye etc. The Sakalur Mehmet Pasha Kulliyye consists of a mosque, madrasa, and a dervish lodge. The Zulmamet Pasha Kulliyye consists of a mosque, madrasa, mausoleum, and fountain. Finally, the Mirima Sultan Kulliyye consists of a mosque, madrasa, mausoleum, and Quran school for children, khan, public kitchen, and hostel. The Yeni Valide Mosque Complex. The Yeni Valide Mosque Complex was among the largest built Kulliyye constructed in Istanbul. It was built by two powerful dynastic women, the mothers of Mehmed II and Mehmed IV. It follows in the pattern of the above Kulliyye, whereby it was built on a slope and located at the important points of Eminönü, Istanbul. Significance in Ottoman history. Kulliyyes had an important impact on Ottoman society. Kulliyye located in residential areas united the vicinity and residents and it served them with its various functional buildings. There were so many Kulliyye in the Ottoman capital, Istanbul, that they serve as the centers that introduce the actual identity of the city. The Kulliyye came to be the cores of many cities in the Ottoman Empire, especially Istanbul, and acted as important centers of cultural, religious, commercial, and educational activities. They serve as one of the symbol of power and achievement of the Ottoman Empire.